Session 1 of Hearing God's Voice. The issue is for all of us. How do we hear from God? I often joke that I'd like him to send a fax, or perhaps today it's more like a text, but he doesn't. And yet we can hear from God. We can hear quite specifically, but it is something that we have to learn. I want to start these reflections this week with chapter 10 of John. John 10:2-3 reads, "The man who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The watchman opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out." Because we need to be reminded of the picture of sheep in Jesus' day. There would be small flocks, and overnight a number of flocks would be herded together into a pen, and one of the shepherds would take it duty to keep watch over them. And then in the morning the other shepherds would come, and they would just call their own sheep, and because their sheep knew their voice, then their sheep would follow them. Very different from how we keep sheep today. But you often see this still in the Middle East. You'll see a small flock of sheep being led across a hillside, and usually a couple of shepherds, and you just hear them calling every now and again. And it's often just children, but they're calling so that the sheep will follow them to where the next bit of grass is, or the water is that they're leading them to. And that's the image that is used here by Jesus. So who are the sheep in the picture? The sheep are followers of Jesus. And a follower has a personal relationship with Jesus. God is a God who communicates, because a personal relationship is not possible without communication. God really does speak to us. In the verse in John that I read, it doesn't say that the sheep got a vague sense that the shepherd was out there and they ought to go out to him. It's quite definite. They heard his voice, they recognised that it was their shepherd's voice, and he called them by name. It's very specific. It's not a general call for anyone who wants to listen. It's very personal. And when God speaks to us, it's personal. We talk about hearing God speak. Now, not necessarily in an audible voice. Some people have heard the audible voice of God, but it's very rare. Mostly it's words put into our mind, like a silent voice that's speaking to us. In verse 16 it continues, "I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there will be one flock and one shepherd." He was speaking then, of course, to the Jewish people. But what he is saying here is that there are others, and of course we know that the message went to the Gentiles, and he's saying they too will listen to the voice of the shepherd and become one with the Jewish people who believed. This, of course, includes us. One of the things about being a sheep, the beauty of it is that we are born to hear the shepherd's voice. We're created in the image of God, and God is a God of communication. So we're made to have communication with him. And this has to be the starting point of our reflections for the week.